Embedded between nearby alpine peaks and the hilly terrain, the French-speaking city of Geneva lies in the bay where the Rhone leaves Lake Geneva. It is also home to the International Museum of the Reformation. Let's hear from its founder, Professor Olivier Fascio, and some of his colleagues as we explore the roots of Protestantism.
We are in a house from the 18th century that was built by Gideon Mallet around 1720.
And this Maison Mallet was built on the ruins of the cloister, where the Reformation of Geneva was decided.
And on the 21st of May, 1536, a political as well as a religious question was asked, "Do you want to adopt the Reformation?" And raising their hands, they said, "We would like to live according to the holy evangelical law and the Word of God." So it was at this moment that the Reformation of Geneva was adopted, and it was in the courtyard of this very house that the Reformation was voted.
Men and women spoke of their rebellion and their aspirations in terms of a religious being, which they felt was no longer accurate for their time. And they said, "We will reform," meaning we will review, reconsider, and completely reappraise our relationship with God, the divine, religion, and the sacred. All of this happened in the early years of the 16th century in Geneva.
In the 16th century, there were 4 centers in Europe. The center of the ancient faith was still Rome. But there were 3 new centers, which were Wittenberg, Luther's city, where he launched his Reformation in 1517. Then there was Geneva, where Calvin took over from Luther's movement. And then there was London, where the Anglican version of the Reformation was also developing.
But Geneva had this distinction of being the meeting place of many roads. The road between north and south, between a northern, more reasonable culture and a southern, much more baroque and glittering culture. In short, Geneva was this perpetual coming and going of a series of traditions, and undoubtedly was the unique place for this reformation of Christianity to take place. Geneva was also where men and women could find shelter. Some occupied a predominant place, and at this point, Jean Calvin must be mentioned. But with him, many others, thousands of refugees, passed through Geneva, either to continue on their journey or to stop, settle, build their lives, have a family, and, in a way, reestablish their heritage and tradition.
This little town felt first of all their spiritual influence, then an intellectual one, and finally the economic one in the 18th century.
And today, this heritage and tradition have culminated in the establishment of the International Museum of the Reformation.
Have you enjoyed exploring travel adventures from an inspirational perspective? Did you know that Travel with Spirit is also available in a quarterly magazine? Travel with Spirit magazine features the many ways Christians are engaging in travel adventures that bring their faith alive. There are unique travel opportunities throughout the world that are family-friendly and faith-enriching. Travel with Spirit magazine identifies those destinations, cruises, and tours and explores meaningful adventure that the entire family can enjoy. The magazine includes uplifting stories from Christian musicians, authors, and pastors who have participated in travel that combines relaxation and adventure with an emphasis on faith. There is also expert insight to the exciting experiences faith-based travelers encounter, and the magazine provides a host of travel ideas that will fit anybody's budget. To get your complimentary copy of the electronic edition of Travel with Spirit magazine, visit travelwithspirit.com.
I'm Brandon Heath, and you're watching Travel with Spirit.
Let's once again hear from Professor Olivier Fascio, founder of the International Museum of the Reformation in Geneva, Switzerland.
The idea of a museum of the Reformation goes back to the end of the 19th century. At that time, scholars assembled documents, manuscripts, books, medals, and paintings to create a museum. Then, 40 years ago, a man who was the leader and the soul of the Church of Geneva, Pastor Max Dominice, who had inherited the idea of a museum, approached me and said, "Listen, Olivier, you will establish this museum." So it has been a long adventure, and thanks to the fact that we were a private team, we were able to make rapid progress. We had to find the funds ourselves, but on the other hand, we didn't have the inertia of public funding, because this museum is completely private in terms of its collections and the way it functions.
Since the museum could not be established in the 50s and only came into existence in 2005, it was able to take advantage of the latest techniques, including scenography and a totally new and original museography, which the visitors find enchanting.
This museum has three roles. Firstly, it is conceived for Protestants who can find their roots again with the Bibles and signatures of Calvin and Luther. Next, it is aimed at people who are interested in the question of religion, who can thus see exactly what the Reformed element of Christianity is. And finally, there are also the people who simply want to get to know about the historical facts about the Reformation. Those who visit this museum should feel at ease and unconstrained, even if they are of a completely different spiritual or religious persuasion. They should not feel at all pressured by the Reformed vision of society and of spirituality.
And so I start from the principle that our museum will ask questions and will sometimes deeply disturb its visitors in terms of their own relationship with spirituality as well as their own history. It is very striking when we look at our visitors' book to see that people come from all over the world. It is a subject that interests many people. Our museum covers 500 years of history, mainly European, but also takes a glance at other continents. It is fascinating to see that people from so many denominations and different beliefs are happy to get into discussion about all that we display here, about a philosophy as well as a religion, about an economic as much as a religious movement. Come and visit the museum with me, and I will show you around.